Hello YouTube, welcome back to my games of Kerbal Space Program. My name is SSJGazhan99 and this is the tutorial for noobs. In today's mission we'll be going to be going around the moon and back again. This is a post commentary, this is probably about 2 days or so later. This is a long video, a really long video, so I'm going to try and cut it down again in my usual fashion. I'm just going to show you my tree, my actual tech tree at the moment, so you can see what I can build with what I've got. And I'll show you the little missions that we're doing as well. It's only going to be one mission, and I'll show you that as well eventually. So this is post-commentary, so I know exactly what I did in this video. I know what I've done wrong and why it didn't work, but it happens, you know what I mean? And it was an error on my part, and I kind of overestimated a few things. So here we are. We have got the missions coming up now. And there's the active mission. So we're going to be testing the hydraulic manifold detachment manifold down into Kerbin. As always, it's a nice 27 science, and a bit of money to go with us is always nice. So if you can do any of the landed at Kerbin stuff, it's extremely easy. The only problem you've got to realistically look out for is depending on what, like an engine or something that they want you to test while landed at Kerbin. But that shouldn't be too hard to do, to be honest. It's not that difficult. So a couple of things I wanted to point out. This is my rocket. I'm using the skipper engines on some Rockermax fuel tanks on the outside edge. It's going to be in a 2 and 2 formation. So it'll be, say, north and south formation first. They'll burn. When they burn out, they drop them off. And then the east and west formations will burn and take us up into orbit. As you can see on the side there where I've got my my staging, it's only 4 stages. I mean, it needs to be 4 stages. The other thing I wanted to point out for this specific video is I'm using a new app on the Android. It's not actually available on iPhone or iTunes because I believe you have to pay for something similar. But if you've got an Android, get the KSP calculator. It's really good. You bring up basically your starting planet, which will be Kerbin, and it'll give you the delta V values for landing or orbit or anything like that just by the application itself. So actually to get to the moon and back again with a landing, it's an average of about 7,500 delta V. And unfortunately, even though I think I'm cutting it fine with this one, I don't have enough to actually get landed at Kerbin. Now the problem that I had, I think, is I actually put too much science on my ship here, where I've got that second that I'll show you in a second. I'll point it out with my mouse, because obviously you've got my old me's mouse and then you've got my mouse now. I put too many of these on, to be honest. I should have put fuel tanks there. Oops, that's just me being an idiot again. And basically had it so that these would come into the engine, into the main fuel tanks. They basically circulate around the fuel into the engines. That's what I should have done. But unfortunately, I ran out of fuel halfway through the mission to try and land on the surface of the moon, and I end up crashing on the moon. So I think I got 1 successful landing, but I didn't have enough to get back into orbit and back onto Kerbin. I had something like I think the science values I got from just being in orbit around the moon and coming back again was better than not, to be honest. So I ended up just doing what I had to do and coming back. But we're going to get through it quickly now, so I might as well just jump through this as fast as possible, because this is all just general rubbish. I'm explaining how to do the missions. Obviously, the manifold here is completely first question, easy 27 science. And let's just get on to launch. It's basically a textbook launch, to be honest. I've done a really good launch. So I'll show you the launch, and then I'll show you the burn in general. So as you can see, that video is 21 minutes and 37 seconds long. Then I've got a second video doing pretty much exactly the same thing. But it's a 9-minute long video. That's just planning, firing the engines. I think the engine's fired for like 3 minutes in order to get the burn to the moon. So as you can imagine, it's not going to be quick. This is an orbital thing. They've tried to keep the science as close as possible. So as always with all of my videos, you've heard me say it. The first thing you do, you press T to bring up your computer controls. These are liquid fuel engines, so put your throttle to maximum, and then press spacebar to complete your first quest, which is your landed at Kerbin quest, and then obviously to engage your first set of engines. So here we go. Obviously, it's post-commentary. I know exactly how this finishes because I was the one that did it. But at the time, I'm just generally just chatting and and doing what's necessary. Now these engines will get me to around about, I think it's 5,600 meters or something like that. And then they burn out. So basically when they burn out at 5,600 meters, drop them off, activate the second set of engines, and then hope they burn you into what they will burn you into orbit. So yeah, not exactly sure what old me's doing there. So just showing you the easy science from that one. So, what have I been doing? Oh boy, I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! I didn't go to Bermondsey at the weekend. I decided to stay at home. I had a friend that was a bit down in the dumps, and I thought I'd chill out with him for a little while. But he pulled himself together, and he ended up not needing anyone to come over or come over anyone's house. Just wanted to chill out, have an evening to himself. So I ended up coming back home again. Missed out on Bermondsey. Had another friend of mine come around last night, which was Sunday night. We played some cards. I tested out 2 or 3 new decks. He is playing spellbooks as always, and it's not easy to play spellbooks against just fun decks that I build. So you know, I ended up winning one round. I really sort of the deck, all the stars lined up with the deck. I won the round, but he won the game. His deck's just quicker and better than mine, so it was just what it was. So again, as you can see there, about 5,500 meters or so, we ejected the engines, popped these ones on the go, and away we go. I'm going to do a bit of a jump in a second. I will show you, I'll pause the video at the point where I make a mistake and an error in my burn. So I will point that out so you guys don't fall into the same error that I've made. As I said, I'm a noob at this game. I'm learning all the time when I'm playing. I'm learning how the orbits work. I'm a huge sci-fi buff anyway. I enjoy science fiction. I enjoy the sci-fi, the space travel aspect of anything. Huge fan of the Apollo program and all that sort of stuff. Followed all their stuff for a long time. Haven't really followed like NASA as much now, I guess. But I've always kept an eye on what they've been doing and stuff. But the best person to keep an eye on that sort of thing has been Thor LP. He's definitely up to date with all the stuff that NASA have been doing on that. I believe the height that we want to be here, if I remember correctly, is 100,000 meters. So we want to get up there as high as possible. Yeah, so I've ejected those engines, and they've got me up to 100k apoapsis. So they've pretty much got me where I wanted to be. So you just need to knock yourself down to the horizon, bring the nose right down, and I'm pointing out a few things here just to show you guys what's going on. Now there's a few things that I do when I do my orbital burns. I chase the apoapsis. I've said this many times in the last couple of videos. I chase the apoapsis, so I'm basically looking at the time to apoapsis, and then I burn horizontally. So what will happen is I'm burning towards the easterly direction, in an easterly direction, and trying to readjust my orbit like that. But I don't want to go past the app. So what I do in order to balance that is if I get too close, I rise my nose a little bit so that the apoapsis stays just in front of me. So I'm always watching the time to apoapsis. If you can balance that out, say for instance, I normally balance it around about 20 to 15 seconds to apoapsis. I just basically balance the nose, just rise it up a little bit, drop it down if I'm getting too far away, rise it up if I'm getting too close, drop it down if I'm getting too far away. It might not be the most fuel efficient way of doing it, but it gets me into orbit every single time without fail. So it works wonders for me. So I prefer to use that instead of having an actual orbital insertion burn marked out using the marking systems. The only time I normally do that is if I want, say for instance, like a timer. So what happened is where you've got on the nav ball, to the left of the nav ball, where you've got your G-force meter, you'll see it eventually. You'll have like a time to burn, and it'll give you like a time frame how long you need to burn to get into orbit at a really weird amount. Like say for instance, 500,000 apoapsis, 80,000 periapsis, whereas you realistically want 80 by 80 or 80 by 75. You want that very close apoapsis and periapsis. So as you can see, I'm starting to balance out. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I think I'm not actually clicked on the screen yet. But the time to apoapsis is 23 seconds. I'm trying to balance that out between 20 So as you can see, slowly coming down. Keep an eye on the periapsis height, because that means it's coming from the centre of the planet and slowly going back out again to the opposite side of the planet. So obviously, once that reaches 0, you have an official periapsis, so you can go from there. Anything else I need to mention right now? No, not really. But all you need to do is just make sure you balance this, and it's literally a matter of just going straight onto the horizon. When you start when you start speeding up, so you start getting closer, you'll know you're getting closer because it's going like 22, 21, 20, 19, and you're going really fast. Rise your nose up a little bit, and you'll see it start to stabilize at like 15 seconds. And then it'll go up to 16 seconds, then drop your nose a little bit, and it'll go back to 15 seconds, and then you basically just do that over and over. It's just like a little balancing act. Do that over and over again. You'll see, as you see, the apoapsis is starting to really shoot away, because obviously the periapsis is now coming into play, and they're going to be switching over at 100k. So there we go. So you want to get that down to about 80 maybe 100,000 probably is where you want that to be. To circularize. There we go. So it's 115,000 by 101,000. That's a perfect orbital burn. That's perfect, actually. To be honest, it's really, really good. So here is where I'm basically discussing my last things. There's the autosave. So press F5 before you make any burn for an autosave, and then press and hold F9 to reload your autosave if something goes wrong. You'll see this happen in a second as well. Okay, so I'm just showing you how to use the burn node. So left click to bring up the main node, green bar outwards, and then you'll get your projected burn. And as you can see here to the left, see that yellow bar? That's basically the time to burn node, which I normally use. I'm just dragging this around to see if I can actually grab a capture. And there we go, we have a capture. Now what you'll see in the capture basically is the yellow dotted line, and then in between you've got the moon encounter, the moon apoapsis, and then the moon exit is in purple. So the moon stuff is all in purple. They've got a purple dotted line there. I don't know whether you can see it very well on the screen. I can just about see it myself, but it's there. Now what I do wrong, and I'm going to pause the video now because there's no point in me continue this part of the video because I make an absolute pig's ear of this. You want to basically be in capture around the moon before you make the lunar insertion burn, which means an orbital insertion burn around the moon. Okay, so yeah, I make the error here. This is where mine goes wrong, and you'll see it if you try it yourself. If you try to make a burn while still in orbit around another planet, that second burn I try to make, it basically puts me back in orbit around Kerbin at a ridiculous thing like 50 million meters away. You know what I mean? It's just mad. It's absolutely mad. It just throws you out into no man's land, which I didn't realize until afterwards. So there's no point in me doing this video. Basically, what you want to do, you want to get into capture around the moon before you make the burn to get captured by the moon. So I'm going to skip to the next part of the video by just fast forwarding straight up, and then there we go. So this is the next part, and this is me basically burning towards the moon. I've already, I believe I've already, have I made the burn yet? No, I haven't. So I'm coming round to make the burn. As you see, this video is 19 minutes long just to get to the moon. You know what I mean? I haven't done anything yet. You know what I mean? So the whole section, it probably took me. I got home early from work as well, so I got home about 8 o'clock, and I didn't finish this video until 10:30, 11 o'clock. That's how many mistakes I was making and trying to figure out how this worked, how that worked, you know, what I was doing here, why this wouldn't work, why this went wrong. But again, I actually used the reload feature. So before you make any burn, F5 to auto save, and if something goes wrong, F9 and bring it back. The other thing I also noticed as well is you can't revert to vehicle assembly building to restart a flight after a certain period of time. Now, I can't guarantee how much time that actually is, but you can't do it. So we're going to be making the burn to the moon very shortly. Might do a bit of science before we go. Maybe, I doubt it actually. So what's taking you so long, old me? What are you trying to explain? I don't know what he's trying to explain. Let's just fast forward quickly so we can get to the burn. And there we go. So we've started burning. And then obviously you just want to watch this out. But obviously what you want to do here is keep an eye on the speed. What it's trying to tell you here is this is how much speed you need to increase by to get into that lunar capture. So I do it as always, where if you need to burn for a certain amount of time, say you need to burn for say 15 seconds, start your burn at node in T-7 and then burn for 8 seconds over. So you go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, 2, 3, or +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then cut your engines. If you burn it at a node in 8 seconds, you'll normally screw it up. So it doesn't always work out so well. I'm going to skip a lot of the crap that happens outside this. Yeah, I fell into that mistake earlier as well. I'm still in orbit around Kerbin. That's why when it went purples like that, I knew I was in trouble, because it basically meant I was still in orbit around Kerbin. But what was happening is I was in just a spin. I was in a constant spin around Kerbin and being attached to the moon at the same time. So what happened is if you was to fly into that, the moon, you'd be picked up by the moon's gravity, you'd be flung back out into space, and then you'd come all the way back round into Kerbin, hit the moon again, and fling off somewhere else, and you'd end up in deep space somewhere. So I've sped through this to try and get through most of this stuff. So how much further? As you can see, I'm still waiting and waiting and waiting. I want to get into capture around the moon, which... Come on. Yeah, if you look, it's not actually doing... There we go. Because now I'm in capture around the moon, it's allowed me to burn at the moon's periapsis and not via the Kerbin periapsis, which is a pain in the neck. So I'm just trying to bring this periapsis down as much as possible. 100k. I'm not too sure how... Oh, what's happening? Oh, right, yeah, I've just switched over to lunar capture. Right, so 10,000 meters, bring that back up. I'm just balancing this out. I'm actually probably going to fast forward all this. As you can see, I'm literally just twitching and twitching and twitching. There's a lot of that to try and keep things back in line. So as you can see, lots of twitching, lots of maneuvering, lots of trying to get back into position again, and speeding up, slowing down, and all that sort of stuff. But eventually you'll get to a point where your para and apoapsis burns are just fine. I'm already stuck on my node already, so I'm just waiting to speed up pretty much. I'm not sure what I'm waiting for here. Let's turn my volume up, see what I'm not talking about. As you can see, you can still do it. It's just a matter of just burning a little bit excess. Yeah, there's nothing really there, to be honest. So let's fast forward to when I actually go in to do that burn. There we go. I'm coming in now. Sorry about the length of the video. You know, I'm trying to shut this down and get this as quick as possible. So I'm now like 54 seconds till burn, and I'm basically got 27-second burn. So basically, as I was saying to you before, I want to get to about 13 seconds, and then activate my engines to get that reverse burn. Now I've got a feeling that, you know, if I'm burning just before the apoapsis there, or the periapsis, sorry. So I'm burning way before the periapsis as well, which is kind of interesting. But there you go. What we need to do, I believe we need to decrease speed by 429 meters a second. So that's a lot. That's 400 delta V. That's quite a large amount. So engage your engines there. So I think, yeah, I should be just fine to do this. As you can see, my main orbit is starting to curl right round, and this will bring us round quite nicely. Bring this down, there we go, and then the app and para-app should switch, and then keep burning, keep burning. Okay, so what we got there, we've got 70 by 499. What you can do is you can also there you go, achieve orbit around the moon. This is fantastic. That's your achieved orbit around the moon. You've done, so you're sorted there. And here's where I decide whether I plan to go onto the surface of the planet. So, doing a bit of science to show you can do some science out here to get some extra science. And this is kind of what made me decide to not land on the moon. Because I didn't realise I didn't have enough fuel until after I'd made all this stuff. Well, that crew report is 15 science. His material bay, when returned, is 75 science. So I was just like, wow, that's a lot of science, you know. And then obviously you open up mystery goo, and we get 30 science straight up from there. Do an EVA report, and we've pretty much got another 30 science there. So it's like 100 odd science just from getting to the moon. You know what I mean? So I was like, wow, that's a lot of science. And I decided, instead of just transmitting it all back, because I've got more than enough battery power and power to transmit it all back to Kerbin, I just thought, is it really worth it? You know what I mean? Is it really worth losing like 370 odd science just to leave this thing either half smashed up on the planet of on the center of you know, around the center of the moon, or is it just worth leaving it as it is? So I make another burn to pretty much circularize this orbit by 70 by 70. Let's bring that part of the video up if I can. Let's have a look. What we're doing here, I'm just trying to say hello to Jebediah. That completes the second quest by just transmitting. Let me just rewind that a second because I've gone too far there. Yeah, what I was basically doing is, if you transmit, I should point this out now, to be honest, before anything else. To complete one part of that quest, you have to transmit data from orbit around the moon, which I forgot to mention. That is part of the quest to complete it anyway. So what I've done is I reviewed the data, and then I transmitted the data, and that completes the quest once it finishes transmitting. I've got more than enough battery power. As you can see, the quest is completed. Number 2 in the top corner up here, and that's for transmitting the data. It's something like 37 science or something like that. There you go, 30 science. So that's all it was. And to complete the one which landed on the moon was the same. It was 30 science to complete that one as well. And it was like, I'm going to get like 300 science for doing the rest and bringing it all back home, or 30 science from landing on the moon and possibly not being able to get back home because I haven't got enough Delta V. So I just decided, you know what, it's probably better off that I just go back home. And this is pretty much where I'm going to be recircularizing my lunar orbit to get back into lunar orbit. And then you'll go back to old me trying to get back home, and I'll be talking to you a bit more from there. Let me just show you. This is me circularizing my orbit, I believe. So my engines are up. I'm just bringing this orbit back down a little bit more. Now, if you haven't got enough of your orbit, you can just engage your engines just a little bit. And what happened there, I'll explain what happened there. I got sticky keys tricked on me there. So the sticky keys tricked, I had to reload the save, because obviously I wasn't too sure what mistakes were made there. So I just reloaded and did it all over again. I'll skip that so you can see what I'm doing. And then we'll go back to, I believe I'm on a 70 by 70 there. Oh yeah, 73 by 68, so that's not too bad, that's alright. And then we're going to go to the next part, so let me just switch over, and let's bring the volume up, and then you can hear me chatting away like a good one. Okay, welcome back everybody, my name is SSJGazhan99, and I'm going to stick this on the end of the last video that I was going to make. I was going to make this a separate video because it was taking so long, but I'm not actually going to land on the moon now. I've tried like 10 attempts now, and pretty much I run out of fuel before I get a chance to land, or I crash into the planet, or yeah, I get lost in space somewhere. That happened to me about 10 minutes ago. Just got lost into space somewhere, and yeah, ran out of fuel, so I couldn't get back to Kerbin. What I'm going to do here, this is pretty much for a science trip now, so it's no longer a landing trip. It's now going to be all for the science, and that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do is we're going to burn as soon as possible. So we bring this up. So we're going to burn in about 2 minutes. Actually, I'll probably bring that a bit closer. So Down about a minute and a half. That'll bring that down to 18. That'll get us some science at close quarters to the moon, and then basically we're going to burn towards Kerbin and go back home. Now the reason I've done this is because I was having a look when while I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. I was having a look around to see what I could do to make it easier for me to land, and I looked at my science, and all of a sudden on my science I saw that I had like 75 science sitting there for space above the moon, and I was like, that's a hell of a lot of science. That's more science than I would get if I was to complete the mission. And even if I got to the surface of the planet, I still wouldn't be able to complete the mission because I couldn't bring that science back home, which is pretty much what I had planned to do in the first place, is bring it back, because the science that I would get for that mission would be incredible. So what I decided that it would be better off if we just collect the science, go home, build a better rocket, build a better lander, because at the end of the day my lander does not have enough fuel. It's as simple as that. It just doesn't. So let's just zip on around. We're going to come back to that node in a moment. So we're going to zip around, collect our science, and then come back. So yeah, let's zip on around. So yeah, this turned out to be a science trip instead of it being a tutorial to land on the moon. But to be honest with you, I need to look up and research how to land properly, because I think I waste more fuel than is absolutely necessary. I personally think I should have enough fuel with what I have built right now to land on the moon, but I don't. So it is what it is. So let's just take that one, and then EVA report, Jebediah. That's 25 science right there. So we'll take data, store data, and board. So we're going to activate this one and get our complementary 75 science. We're going to take the goo, and we're going to get our complementary 30 science, and then I'm going to press M like that. I'm going to F5, quick save, lovely jubbly, and I'm ready to go. So I literally just need to sort myself out onto the node, and I'm literally set and ready to go. So okay, so from here I pretty much end up going for a burn back to Kerbin. So I might as well bring that back down and fast forward back to when we go to the burn back to Kerbin. It's quite an easy burn to do. You just basically set your node up on a periapsis or something like that, somewhere around there, and you start increasing your speed until you get a capture like the purple one you can see right now around the Kerbin. You just want to get that up. You want to get the periapsis, I believe that's periapsis, as close to the planet as possible, and you want to, if you can get that to within a couple of million, maybe 1 million, 2 million will be pretty decent. Most of the time you'll be up about 3 or 4 million on your reverse burn there. So as you can see, I'm fast forwarding through the thing to get to the node and just start burning as soon as I get to a point where I'm actually happy. As you can see, it's got the node in T plus 43 minutes. Now the reason that is because I preset the burn way before. I actually went past the burn. Yeah, I actually went past the burn point to get around to the opposite side of the planet, which is why that came up. So 2.8 million is not too bad. As it says, it's, burn time in T minus 4 seconds. I burned very quickly because I was going to reach that burn point way too late. So get the nice quick burn up. And that's pretty much it. I just want to get a capture around. You can just burn a little bit and then cut your engine to get as close as possible. So that's that'll do. I burnt past the point where I want it to be, but it is what it is. So all you do is let that run its course. You'll get around the planet. You speed up time so you can get around the periapsis. Again, I'm going to set up another burn node to see how much I'm burning in reverse. I want to get that down as close to the planet as possible. Um, I'm always hoping to get it around about 50,000 meters if possible. That way I can slow myself down using the atmosphere itself to slow me down and allow me to land on the planet safely. So 15,000, it'll do. It's extremely sharp. You're coming in extremely fast and heavy, but it'll get me to the planet's surface. It's only 700 delta V, which I've got more than enough for. As you can see, I'll burn out delta V within 9 seconds on my first stage. And then on my second stage, and I've got 1200 delta V on the second stage, so I've got more than enough delta V. So I'm just basically, as you see before I skip forward there, I was maneuvering the ship to get onto the node that I needed to do the reverse burn. Now I'm like speeding time up, so I'm getting into place. So I want to start burning around about now because I'm about to run out of fuel anyway. So I should be burning any time now. There you go. Let myself run out of fuel. I need to go into staging. As soon as it burns up, I want to detach and engage the engines. So there we go. We're set and ready to go. So we've now got a minute burn. So yeah, this will take a while. As always, these always do take a little bit of time because you're burning against the run of your speed. You're basically trying to slow yourself down enough so you get closer and closer to the planet. I don't actually know why I'm watching that. Especially when it's up here. You know what I mean? So it's right there, 1.4 million kilometers right there. So it's it's 1,000 meters pretty much. So there we go, 900 kilometers. You can see it coming down really fast. Time to apoapsis is 26 seconds. 24, 23. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. So you want to get this down as close to the planet as possible so it slows you down. Let's fast forward that a little bit. You can see the burn. It's pretty much going to be exactly the same. So I'm coming in, I'm burning. There we go. My periapsis height is now 6,000 meters. So I actually burned beyond what I thought was probably safe. But I'm coming down pretty sharp. So let's start fast forwarding this bad boy. So we come in and around. I'm readjusting my position so that I can land on the planet. I make another error here. You know, I try to accommodate for the Kerbal Space Center. So this is what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to land so that I actually land by the Kerbal Space Center. But what I don't take into account is that I'm probably still about let's think. Like the time to periapsis, if you look there, okay, the time to periapsis is 1 day, 2 hours. Okay, I forget that. So when I'm coming close, I notice, oh shit, where am I going? I'm going to be landing in the water in a second. You know what I mean? I'm not actually going to land on the surface. So what I wanted to do is get a little bit more science by landing somewhere random and just getting a bit of science, or try and get as close to the Kerbal Space Center as possible, and and that way I could get some of my money back. But then I realised, oh shit, I'm still like 3 or 4 hours from getting to the Kerbal Space Center because it's on the opposite side of the planet. So I'm now sitting there thinking I need to slow down a little bit, otherwise I'm going to burn up in the atmosphere. I'm going very, very fast. As you can see, 2,360 meters a second. And I'm thinking, I want to land on land. I don't want to be landing in the water because I don't get diddly squat from the water. You can't take a surface sample. I've already done mystery goo. I've already done materials bay in the water. I haven't done a barometer in the water, but I didn't actually put a barometer on this one, or a temperature, or anything like that. So I'm like, I really don't want to be in the water. I want to be on that surface. I want to be on. I want to be on land. So at the moment, I'm just basically trying to readjust myself. But you don't need to do any of this. Just let yourself come back to the planet, land somewhere, and just recover your vessel. But as you can see, I'm coming down in the water. I wasn't happy about coming down in the water. I'm coming in thick. I'm coming in hard. Coming in really fast. Lower my gears, hopefully to absorb some of the damage that it might be taking. As you can see, the reason that they got the air effects here is because I'm coming in way too fast. I'm I should be coming in quite gentle, around about 600 meters a second, whereas I'm coming in at 2,000 meters a second. So as you can see, I'm coming down. You know, my chute's opened up quite nicely. I'm just going to fast forward through to the end. Got good old Jebediah out to say hello. EVA report and 5 science. So that was interesting. Just doing little bits of science here or there to see what I get out of it. And that's pretty much the end of the video. I do apologise about the length. I do apologise about some of the things that I did. I didn't do some things right. I did some pretty shoddy stuff, to be honest, on this one. But I didn't do that badly. At the end of the day, I got the mission that I wanted to do at the end of it complete. We will have another landing at some point soon. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.